Good evening, everybody. Figured I would take the time to talk about 1983's Born Again by Black Sabbath. Now, I don't physically have this album, not even on CD or some shit, but I haven't seen too many reviews out there for it, and it is definitely one of my favorite Black Sabbath albums, no doubt. So if you expected me to shit all over it, you'll be most assuredly mistaken that you won't find that here. I really do admire the album for various reasons that I'll get into here. So, the Dio era of the band isn't bad at all. Like, hell, me and my buddy listened to some of the start of Mob Rules earlier. It wasn't bad at all. I wasn't so much the biggest fan of Heaven and Hell. Blasphemy, I know, whatever. And look, I'm not an Aussie cocksucker either, you know. Iommi is what makes Black Sabbath to begin with. It really doesn't matter who's doing the vocals, if you ask me. But in 1983, Ian Gillan from Deep Purple fame joined the band. And to say the least, it was an experience, and I really wish they would have kept Ian around for at least another album or two, maybe another album. But unfortunately that didn't happen. But hey, that's history. A lot of fans like to shit on the production job on this album. I don't think it could be any better, to tell you the truth. It's a nice raw, rough, crunchy, fucking in-your-face sort of sound to the album. Therefore, it's one of therefore it's one of Black Sabbath's most sort of almost lo-fi-ish albums. Well, I wouldn't go that far as to say it's necessarily lo-fi, but it does have this vibe about it that is very raw, rough around the edges, but that's much to its benefit. Starting the album off with the famous Trashed, which is a really good party song, honestly. I'm sure we've all been there before. Great lyrics, nice crunchy guitar riff, everybody's firing on all cylinders. There is some synth in there, which is pretty interesting. You get some of the more experimental fare on this album as well, like The Dark and Stonehenge, which very famously inspired Spinal Tap, which is pretty neat. And one of my all-time favorite Black Sabbath songs is Disturbing the Priest. That is a heavy-ass song, and it is structured so well. I really admire the structure of the song as well. A lot of really good shit happening in that song. The breakdown, the vocal melodies when the bass really thumps in, you know. Also smoking on Marlboro NXT. I don't know if we'll pick that up. There's some really, really great shit on here though. Born Again, the title track, is really great. Keep It Warm is probably my least favorite on the album, to be realistic. But again, still a really good song. Sort of harkens back to more of a blues affair from Black Sabbath. Maybe more so for Deep Purple, since Ian Gillan was in the band. You get some pretty great shit on there. Digital Bitch, Hotline, and it's a really solid fucking album, to tell you the truth, and one that I slept on for far too fucking long. The cover art for the album is really funny as well. Look, I don't like it or dislike it. I think it's a little generic, if I'm being honest with you. But if for every time I seen a shitty album with shitty cover art, and I listened to it and it was pretty good, I'd have more than a few pennies, I gotta say. So if you've written it off for the sake of the album cover, definitely give it a fucking listen if you skipped over it. Born Again by Black Sabbath is honestly probably my favorite 80s Black Sabbath album. And they had a revolving door of singers. They had Glenn Hughes, Ronnie James Dio, Ozzy, Ray Gillan even sang on an album, if you know who that is. Tony Martin sang on like 4. And Ian Gillan was the third singer to be let into the band. Some really heavy affairs on there. I love Hotline, and Zero the Hero is definitely one that the fans seem to enjoy. It is a really great track, after all, but that could be said for the whole album. Sabbath sort of dipped into the more experimental recesses of their repertoire with this album. Maybe not so as heavily on projects like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, but it is nice to get some of that in the band again. And I think the album turned out exceptionally well. Even if it is reviled by fans and critics alike, I think there are some scant few people out there who shit on it just for the sake of it being a bad album, supposedly. But I don't get how you could write it off when shit like Disturbing the Priest and fucking Born Again are on that album. Great fucking tracks. And I've heard that there is supposedly a remaster coming, or it may have already come out. I'm not sure about that. But, Tony, man, while you're still alive, you need to get on that, man. That would be great. That would be fucking what's up. So if you've thought about checking out Born Again by Black Sabbath, definitely do so. It's one of the best fucking, like, heavy metal albums in the 80s, if you ask me. A top-notch fucking album. And realistically speaking here, you can't unwrite 80s Black Sabbath history, or even into the 90s, as much as many fans would like to. You know, those years happened, they're real, and even if Ozzy wants to try to push them away, hey man, you can't unwrite history. So, if you get the chance, check out Born Again by the legendary Black Sabbath. Don't sleep on it.